Well, good evening. I'm Amy Lucky, the donor engagement lead here at the Glacier National Park Conservancy, and we are just thrilled to have so much interest in this conversation tonight. I think we had over 120 people registered from the call for the call from all over the place. So I'm seeing a really big group of glacier enthusiasts. And I would really like to encourage you all to make tonight about you. And please populate the chat with your questions and comments, and we will try to get them all. We look forward to learning more about Tagen and Dave, the Conservancy, the partnership between the Conservancy and the park, and sort of wherever else your questions take us. So don't be shy. Um, I am joined tonight by my coworkers, Gracie, Andrew, Stacy, and of course, the new president of the Glacier National Park Conservancy, Tagen Vine. It is also our honor to have Glacier National Park Superintendent Dave Roemer on the Zoom tonight. And this is rare, but we're going to let Dave relax for just a few minutes. And I'm going to introduce Tagen and let him sort of kick off our event tonight. So, Tagen has been learning all things Glacier Conservancy for just about 2.5 or 3 months. Prior to the Conservancy, he was the Chief Development Officer at Flathead Valley Community College. And before that, he was the president of Flathead Regional Healthcare Foundation. To say that he is well known and well liked in the Flathead Valley is a major understatement. I'm excited for everybody to meet him. I'm going to pass the mic to Tagen and I'm going to let him tell you a little bit more about himself.
Awesome. Thank you, Amy. And thanks to everybody who's checking in. It's so fun to see, Sean from Petaluma, California, and where everybody's checking in from. So thanks for joining us this evening and appreciate everybody's interest in all things Glacier. And I am very excited to be part of one of those new fixtures in the Glacier world and be a part of this Glacier family. So really appreciate the team bringing me in and welcoming me so warmly and helping me learn the ropes of what's happening here at the Conservancy as well as in the park and learning all of our partners and all of the great things that they do in partnership with our friends at Glacier National Park. Found my newest friend, Dave Roemer. Really excited to be working side by side with him and found him to be an incredible human being and uh, loves the park and loves his people and really excited to be able to work alongside of him. As Amy said, in my background, I have been in the nonprofit sector my whole life. Even through high school, I was doing youth group, Boys and Girls Brigades, Boy Scouts. Went to school and thought I wanted to do something for the environment, that I do environmental engineering, and turns out that's not at all what it was. And so I got into natural resources and outdoor education, rec resource management at the University of Wisconsin, and took a class that really inspired me. A professor of mine, Christine Lupton, her dad worked side by side with Paul Petzold and some of the folks who started a lot of the outdoor advocacy work as well as outdoor leadership programs around the country. And that really inspired me to want to be involved in, being part of conservation as well as leadership and service to the outdoors. So the Boy Scouts of America was a great fit for my first launch coming out of college and worked in the suburbs of Chicago while I waited for my then girlfriend, now wife, Carrie, to graduate. And then we headed out to Boulder and realized we'd missed the window on Boulder, Colorado housing. And lucky me, had an offer to come join the Boy Scouts in Northwest Montana in 1997. And I had enjoyed that for many years, running camps and raising money and working with volunteers. And then made the switch to healthcare when I started having kiddos of my own and didn't get to see them when I was at camp all summer. So I needed to figure out some way to be a better dad. So I switched to healthcare and loved doing that and led an organization for about 16 years, raising money for the local regional healthcare organization. Back then, Kalispell Regional Healthcare. So many of you know the Alert Rescue Program and many of the other great programs at Kalispell Regional. So I was proud to work alongside those caregivers to do great things and then work with Jane Karras, president of FECC, our local community college. Just really enjoyed raising money for scholarships and launching the Entrepreneurship Center with a great gift from Mr. Wachholtz, who we just lost last week. So he was a great inspiration in the valley, and his philanthropy has been game changing here in the Flathead. But then the recruiters came and called about the Glacier Conservancy, and I was not interested in leaving my president of the college, Jane Karras, but then the following Monday, she announced her retirement, and my heart opened up to new possibilities. And I could think of no greater mission for me in my entire career than to come and work and lead the Glacier Conservancy and really kind of come full circle back to what my initial intentions were coming out of school and the good work I'd planned on doing for our planet and our special places. So I'm very proud to be with you all and be a part of this incredible staff. Just a great group of people, very talented, and every single one of them with the park and in their heart and the mission of the Conservancy in the park. Our great board of directors, very engaged and passionate about what happens in the park and being able to support many of the programs and needs of Glacier National Park. And so just want to say thanks for having me, and really glad to be a part of the crew and doing great things for the park and helping Glacier National Park meet its mission by supporting and filling in the gaps where other programs may fall short. That's enough out of me, Amy. I'll hand it back to you for a little bit. Thank
Well,
you.
for a
All
minute,
right.
maybe. Yeah, thanks for all of that, Tagen. And I learned a few things in there too. So we're super thrilled to have you. And I guess I would just ask you, in your first couple months here, what sorts of things have you learned about the Conservancy? I know that you have been in and out of the park and in and out of meetings, and what has sort of struck you?
I feel like my heart swells with joy with all of the things I've been able to experience in the park. I've hiked a lot of the trails and things like that over the years, but not. I come from a family of educators, grandpa, grandmas, mom and dad, high school choir teachers, elementary teachers, and I think a lot of the interp ranger, a lot of the education that happens with Native America Speaks or walks by the creek side or astronomy at night or all of the different programs that are in the interp world. I got to ride on the St. Mary, Lake St. Mary with the boat tour with Julia, who also happens to be a fellow cheesehead, and learned a lot about that St. Mary's area with yeah, thanks, Gracie, go Badgers. There it is. Learned a lot about what was happening and what I was looking at. And so having somebody share what I was looking at between fires and geology and Great Northern cabin and chalet history was fascinating. So I think a lot of the education side and interpretation side, my passion really like coming out of college, I thought I'd go work for a National Outdoor Leadership School or Outward Bound or one of those programs, or be a park ranger and be a backcountry ranger. And so really cool to see what we're doing with our Wilderness Ranger program, and had a wonderful opportunity to meet Wilderness Manager Kate today. And she filled me in on all of the great work the Conservancy has invested in our backcountry and wilderness ranger program. So I was really excited to hear what was going on in our backcountry and wilderness areas and the impact our donors are having in those special places in the backcountry. That not sure if the stat still holds true, but I think when I worked in Yellowstone as a college brat, they said 95% of our visitors don't get more than 100 yards from the car. And so it's interesting to hear about what's happening more than 100 yards past the car. And Kate and the leadership she provides that team, incredible. And then actually had a great opportunity on Monday morning to meet John Waller again for the first time in 19 years. He and I were in a leadership program here in the Flathead Valley in '07, and all the great work he's been doing on wolves and wolverines and bears and working alongside that great team. It was great to reconnect with John. So I think one of the things that I've really enjoyed the most is the reconnections with friends from many years gone by. Bob Jellison, who works in the school to park program, he and I were friends before we all started having kids. And then there we are the day many glaciers being evacuated, hanging out, having lunch with Bob Jellison at the cafe, talking about the school to park program. So had an Eagle Scout from Columbia Falls that presented to us about mountain goats at our board in the park day. It was great to see Eric Boyd. First time I'd seen him since probably pinning his Eagle badge on his chest. So all the way around, I can't express the enjoyment I've had out of learning more about the park and getting to know our partners and the people and the many generous people who make it all possible.
Wow, well, you mentioned some real superstars from the park. And speaking of superstars from the park, I'm wondering if you would introduce Mr.
Oh,
Roemer to us
yes.
tonight.
I am happy to bounce the ball his way. So I had the great opportunity to meet David when I first arrived, and very warm welcome, and got to know his background a little bit, and really love He had his undergrad at Amherst College out in Massachusetts, and then joined us out here in Montana for his master's. I always
Go
give a pause.
Grizz.
Thank you very much. Got to always
Yeah.
give a pause for the little Go Grizz after that. And then he did great work doing a lot of research and great work in Carlsbad Caverns and the Big Ditch down in Texas, and then was a big leader up there in the Redwoods. And lucky for us to have him join us in 2022 and come in and join the Glacier National Park gang. So, David, thank you for first of all, joining us 3 years ago, 4 years ago now, and so glad you're here with us tonight to share your thoughts with everybody. And please give us a little deeper background on the surface I just scratched there.
Hey, thanks, Tagen.
Right.
It's great to be here with everyone tonight. Thanks, folks, for joining. The Glacier National Park Conservancy is a very special organization, plays such a key role in what we're able to do at Glacier. And I feel very fortunate to work with talented people at the Conservancy. And thanks, you listed a bunch of our rock stars here at the park too that you've seen recently. Those people energize me, and they do great things here. It's all very exciting. I've been at Glacier for 4 years now. I've been in the Park Service for actually 34. I actually did start when I was 19. So it kind of goes a ways back, but um, I've got the best job in the Park Service. Glacier is an inspiring park. It checks all of the boxes that matter to me in terms of public service and being able to work in a park with very large landscapes, connected landscapes, working with partners, working with tribes, um, working in a place where we can really set the model for other parks to learn from. It's got international relations. I love that about Glacier. We're part of the first international peace park in the world, um, with our friends in Waterton Lakes and Parks Canada. Getting to work with my colleagues there just adds so much richness to to my day in the park here. Um, 34 years in the Park Service, beginning at Carlsbad Caverns. There's a bat behind me that you may be able to see. That's my plaque for 11 or 12 years. I kind of grew up in that park. Um, I also got married in that park. My wife, Amy, we both went to Bryce Canyon after that. And then Big Thicket in East Texas, a park that not many people have heard of, but a park that in many ways prepared me for working at Redwood National and State Parks in California. I was there for 12 years, first as their science and resources chief, and then as their deputy superintendent, um, sometimes acting superintendent. I did get to go back to Carlsbad on an acting assignment as superintendent before coming to Glacier, which is just kind of neat because you rarely get to close a circle like that in the Park Service to go back and helm a park where I started actually originally as a teenager, and then get to go back there and have the responsibility of leading a team at Carlsbad was kind of neat. But I'm so happy to be at Glacier with my family. My daughter's looking at colleges now. She's a senior in high school. My son is 15. We live in Columbia Falls, and we just love having the access to the park and to the rest of Northwest Montana. And Glacier's role in Montana is so enormous. I mean, we're the welcome mat, the connectivity for grizzly bears, for wolverines, for mountain goats. A lot of the great things we love in the state, Glacier is vital to providing. Um, One other thing about my background I'll share, and it's my 12 years in Redwood. We're really transformational for me. There is where tribal partnership was a gift and something that I learned there working with the Yurok tribe. And we worked together to bring California condors back to the redwoods. Um, uh, there's now more than 20 birds in that population. Um, they've been absent for more than a century. There were cultural practices related to the presence of the species that had been absent for a century. Getting to work with the Yurok and supporting their efforts and making that happen um, is such a sweet spot for me. It's working at the intersection of ecology, culture, restoration, and in some real ways, justice. And so getting to work where all those things come together, that's a sweet spot of all sweet spots. And Glacier's got plenty to keep me engaged in all of those things here. Um, Getting to work with the Blackfeet, getting to work with Confederated Salish and Kootenai tribes, even getting to work with First Nations in Canada. There's so much important stuff that we can do together and learn to do.
Great. Thanks, Dave. We sure are glad you're here tonight, and we sure are glad you are at Glacier. So I was just sort of flipping through the folks who are attending tonight, and there are multiple folks on. And I know that we have some new names and some new faces, folks that I haven't seen before. So I just wanted to take a couple of minutes and maybe do a little Conservancy 101, just talk about what we do, which may generate some more questions in the chat. Please feel free to continue to those, and we will I'll do this real quick, and then we'll ask a couple of more questions of Dave and Tagen, and then we will get to some audience questions. So the Conservancy is the nonprofit partner of the park. We were founded in 2013 through a merger of the Glacier Fund and the Glacier National Park History Association in an effort to create sort of a more unified nonprofit partner to increase impact. And we have done just that. So that first year we granted the park just over $850,000. And last year, just 12 years later, we granted well over $4.3 million to the park. So as our partnership has grown, we've obviously been able to do more. And we recognize the importance of anticipating future needs with the park. So we've started to collaborate, taking Conservancy leadership, collaborated with park leadership on how to transition our partnership from one that continues to meet current needs. We will always do that, but also pursuing some long-range broad initiatives. Together, we have identified wilderness, wildlife, and wonder as three initiatives core to the Conservancy's message to protect and preserve Glacier for future generations, and the National Park Service's message to preserve unimpaired the national and cultural resources and the values of the national park system for the enjoyment, education, and inspiration of this and future generations. So the vision is big and bold, just like Glacier. We want to continue to build a sustainable funding model that meets urgent needs while preparing for long-term projects. So if you would like to hear more after this and we have not connected with you in some way, please reach out to us. I'm Amy at glacier.org. There's Tagen at glacier.org. There's Stacy at glacier.org, Gracie at glacier.org. Our website is glacier.org. So that's where you can find out lots more about what we do and the projects that we fund. We'll talk about more of them tonight. And we'll put a link in the chat if you would like to donate tonight to support our mission and to support the park that we all love. So I hope that was under 2 minutes, as I promised. And that was super sort of brief overview. And I'd like to take a little bit of a deeper dive and just ask Dave his view of the Glacier Conservancy in his experience at this park and others, and what sort of makes this partnership work.
Thanks. Yeah. First, what a great partnership. What a functioning, high performing partnership this one is. And I'll share from my experiences just throughout my career. Working with partners is not always an automatic thing. It takes effort. It takes listening and also knowing what your objectives and what your mission is. And what makes the partnership with the Conservancy and Glacier National Park so good, um, apart from all the wonderful people that work in it, is that we have such tightly aligned missions, and a lot of success. Success really makes things easy when you have so many real victories, things that are tangible that are getting better in the park because of the partnership. That really makes it easy to get everybody behind it. Um, we have fun together. Conservation, preservation should be a fun thing. And that's very important to keep a partnership vibrant. And it's really just being mission driven and being able to do work with meaning and have honest conversations. And I'm sure Tagen will have a lot to say on this topic. I know we said it before, but he's come into a high performing, fully functioning partnership with great people that just were just ready to take things even further than we have. And the success of the Conservancy during the years that I've been here, and it's not related to me being here. It was being successful before I was here too. But it is in some ways an outlier when you look at federal budgets, when you look at federal hiring. Those lines are trending kind of flattish. The Conservancy has been an area of growth and of real inspiration for us.
Thank you, Dave. Tagen, I'll throw it your way. First impressions of the Conservancy and the partnership with the park?
I think the aligned missions and goals piece, I think when you said both of the missions, they almost, so many of those words are shared in both missions. Um, yeah, I think one of the things that I've really liked seeing is the process for identifying projects. That especially given some of the challenges in the last year, I know there was difficulty last fall on getting some projects kind of dialed in because of the shutdown and some of those things. But to know that those project managers that are National Park Service staff, they'll identify a need, and whether or not they have the capacity, the team, the time, the whatever, recognizing that in the last year, maybe they're, wearing another hat in addition to the hat they were wearing. Do they have time? So it comes from them and they identify a project rather than from a top down or outside in. It comes from inside out. And so that gives them then that accountability as well as the willingness to want to follow through on something they wanted to do when they identified that they had the capacity for, versus it seeming like somebody from the outside is saying, hey, I think you guys should do this, and then just add that to the list of things that they're trying to keep up with in their daily duties to keep the park the special place it is too. So I've really enjoyed learning about that process and how important it is that those folks who are working on the ground really need to identify what they can do and what's needed, and that they've got the commitment to follow it through. So I've really enjoyed that part, as well as quite honestly, the variety. I think this year we've got 55 different unique projects that we're going to be working on, all in the different buckets. So lots in that wonder space with the interp and the Native America Speaks and astronomy and all that cool stuff. The wildlife research with the continued work on mountain goats and wolverines that John's been doing. I think he's got a new study coming up. He's going to be working on cats and wolves on the eastern slope. So that'll be really neat to see what John and his team are working on there. And then the wilderness and some of the needs that they've got there. I know deep back in the backcountry at Goat Haunt, I understand that the big floods that brought the evacuation of Many Glacier also moved the creek that the hydropower at Goat Haunt came from. So the backcountry might have some special needs this year, as well as keeping those wilderness backcountry rangers supported and give them the tools as well as the time that they need to patrol 734 miles. Is that the magic number from what I understand? Yeah. All right. So I think that's really cool. It's the variety of projects. So there's really something in there for anybody who has a passion for the education and the interp and the history and the people and the place, as well as the people who are passionate about that backcountry and wilderness preservation, and then the folks who are really excited about wildlife, or those of us who just like to see it all come together into one big package with a bow on it. and see the greater picture. So I think it's really neat to see, and then where donors can share their passion and identify things where they want to invest their resources and hard-earned dollars to be able to help Glacier National Park achieve goals that they've identified and shared with us that we can then work on helping to support and find solutions for. So that part's really been enjoyable, as well as obviously the people behind all of those submissions and all those project managers and those leaders in the park, some of whom I mentioned before, but many who remain unnamed. They're remarkable human beings, and they love what they do, and they are here for all the same reasons the rest of us are. We want to preserve and take care of this place. So how can we work together to do the best job we can for the people in the park and the critters?
Tagen, I love that you brought up the way that the partnership works and that the initiatives and the projects come from the park. It's one of my favorite things about the process. Obviously, if we don't have the boots on the ground and the buy-in there, these projects and programs aren't going to work. Dave, would you give us a little bit of an insight of how things work on the park end? Are people knocking on your door? Are they sliding slips of paper underneath saying, "Hey, please fund this"? Or how does that process work for you to sort of identify and narrow down the projects that you can identify that definitely need funding from the Conservancy?
Yeah, there are so many good ideas for projects. Like Tagen said, um, they have to fit within the overall picture of what the park is also doing, and the complementary relationship, the ability to do projects that we identify and prioritize and sit around the table and discuss and kind of chew into a little bit and figure out the viability of these projects. And we look also to make sure that these projects are aligned with projects that we can present, that the Conservancy can present to donors and generate some interest for. There are many things that I do in my government job. I won't lie, that are inherently federal and sometimes a little bit boring and dull. We are an agency that's been around for more than a century. We have highly evolved processes for doing things. But a partner like the Conservancy can be more nimble than we can be. They can be more creative than we can be. And I really see that much of what the park does that is innovative and creative and different is coming from that process where we dialogue with you and and pitch some ideas for things that we think that we can accomplish that they aren't necessarily must-dos from an agency perspective, but it's where our hearts and our passion and where the science tells us we should know something about mountain goats in Glacier. We should be investing a lot of energy into science on bears and other wildlife. Um, all the things we do, it provides such great information for us. Um, One of the projects that it may be a little bit down in the weeds for people, but the Conservancy has done so much to help us stand up the data behind really the data behind what visitors do in the park anyway. Every day there's this wildlife species in the park. They're humans, and they go places, they do things, and understanding what they'd like to do and how they do it is really important to avoiding congestion in the park and overuse. Um, so when they arrive, where they drive their vehicles, where they board shuttles, what trails they like to go on, how long they're on those trails. Um, we have it so dialed right now, and we wouldn't be anywhere without the investment that the Conservancy has made, giving us some amazing staff that are now federal employees that work with us, but the tools to really look and to test, to pilot, and to learn and to improve all the time. So that fascinates me. I love to be out in the park, but when I am behind my desk, I can dial up real-time data of where vehicles are entering the park, how many per 15-minute period, I can see, wow, we really need to get some more employees over here because we're, you know, backing up cars on the highway too. Um, or we really need to change our messages because this is something that people are now doing. It's a lot of learning, but we've got such a great system for understanding visitor use and for planning for visitor use that is going to provide experiences that are memorable, inspirational, and keeping park resources in the good condition that it needs to be in.
Well, thank you, Dave, for giving the Conservancy kudos there, but I think that you and your team deserve a lot of kudos for the last few years too, and piloting programs and learning and changing and hopefully making the whole experience better for everybody. So I'm finally going to throw things over to my fabulous coworker, Gracie. I think that there are some questions that are queued up. Gracie, are you ready to ask away?
I'm ready. Um, First off, I got to point out that there's maybe been a little too much Badger talk already, but we did have Larry in the chat saying "Go Badgers" immediately when Tagen was sharing his bio, so had to share that. But I'll start off with a question for Dave. Carl is wondering, him and his wife volunteered at the Native Plant Nursery for 3 seasons. The nursery is tucked behind park headquarters near your office, and most people don't know it's there. He was wondering, since both of you and Tagen are a bit newer, have you discovered this vital function in the park headed by Levi? And I thought I'd throw it to you, Dave, since you're a little less new than Tagen is.
Yeah, I discovered right away my place of tranquility and zen in the park is the nursery here in West Glacier, and Levi is a great person for that job. He does so well working with volunteers and staff, growing things, which then go out into the park. And, you know, we do a lot of construction here too. But not having the park look like freshly dug ground and orange cones is pretty important. And the Native Plant Nursery helps us come behind projects and have it looking more park-like and have it functioning the right way ecologically on an accelerated timetable. Levi and I were together in a Blackfeet sweat a couple of years ago, maybe my favorite day in the park. Levi's an awesome guy.
Yeah, that's awesome. The whole vegetation crew does a lot of great work. I got to go out with the Alpine Native Plants team once and do a survey up there, and I was trying my best to keep up with the plant identification. Next, I have one for Tagen, and I'm going to read it exactly as David wrote it because I thought it was kind of nice. He said, "Hi, Tagen, welcome. I know you've just started, but at this point, do you have a specific initiative or focus that you'll be guiding the Conservancy into? No pressure, gentle ask." So our friend David was wondering.
Awesome. Well, thanks for the question. I had somebody ask me on like week 3, what's your vision? Oh my goodness. So I guess, like where I'm at right now is just really learning as much as I can. And then our mission is to support the mission of Glacier National Park. So I guess the vision for the Conservancy would be to have the capacity to be able to support the needs of Glacier National Park throughout the organization, and whether it's wilderness, wildlife, wonder, or anything that doesn't fall into one of the W boxes, that they have the resources they need to follow through on their mission. So I know we share an aligned mission, and I guess right out of the gate, that would be one. Making sure that we finish strong with some of the projects that are currently in the works. We've got next summer, we'll get a little bit more, hopefully put the finishing touches on the Wheeler cabin, and then start to look at how that gets incorporated into programming and some neat things that we can do there. Looking at archives and housing and some of those things as well. And I'm really excited to see some of the wildlife research. Really excited. I think some of our gang got to go on the bat vaccination work the other night. Geneva and Stephen, maybe, I think, went out there, and just different things that I never saw in bird, data collection, all those things. I think the wildlife research really fascinates me. And I love the fact that you can balance this wilderness kind of outdoorsy thing with the research and the data collection and kind of bring the two together and see where the magic lies. And to be a part of that and to be able to help support that, while I may not be on the scientist end and I don't get to wear one of those super cool hats, I can be on the solution side of things and be able to support the programs that, quite honestly, like holistically, all of those pieces come together to weave the whole web that make that park so magical. So it's hard to pick any one given thing to be passionate about because that ripple effect up there in that web is so strong. And I feel like any one thing that I get passionate about has an effect on 14 other things that kind of trickle down the road. So I guess I love seeing the web at work. And then I do find the human nature part fascinating. And I thought about that a little bit, just hiking around in the park and where people park and some of the things they do sometimes, like step over signage that says don't go past this point, or some of those things. But I had somebody ask me, we were at Wheeler Cabin, and they're like, that garbage can used to be up there by the cabin, and now it's right next to the picnic table. Why is that there? And I was like, well, probably because when it was 6 feet away, it wasn't getting used. And now that it's next to the picnic table, people are putting their trash in it. So figuring out some human nature things. And it's very interesting to see how folks who are used to kind of wilderness and outdoor environments, and then some people look like I would look if I went downtown New York and was looking for the subway, just absolutely new experience all the way around with lots of questions that probably make New Yorkers' eyes roll. And sometimes I get just remember this is national park. This is for everybody, and it's so cool to watch the wonder in people's eyes. Like I know for those of you who, when you come here, you get to watch people who for the first time see Glacier National Park, and it's amazing to see it through their eyes, and it helps you reappreciate it and not take it for granted because we get to look at it every day. And I can tell you, after 29 years of looking at it every day, for many people on this call, I'm sure you've been looking at it for 60 years every day. It never gets old. And I think that's one of the magical things about Glacier is just the daily impact it has on lives, even on people from Oklahoma, Bainbridge Island, Missouri, all over the country. So appreciate the question, and I just enjoy plugging in all these special places.
Awesome. Yeah.
2 weeks, Tony. We'll see you soon.
There you go. Yeah, I find that anytime you spend time with park staff, I get energized with a new thing, and I start to fantasize about getting a master's in wildlife biology, and then that fades off, but the inspiration from the staff always remains. So I have a couple questions here about how the new access program has been going and the shuttle system and stuff. I'll pass that over to Dave. And then Peter was also just asking if the webcam at Goat Haunt will ever be running again. So I guess access questions and then webcam questions.
Yeah. Wow. The webcam one's maybe the harder one. Goat Haunt, Tagen alluded to this earlier. We had a really big rainstorm at the end of June. We needed to evacuate Many Glacier, but the bulk of that storm was localized in Goat Haunt. It took out our hydro plant, so we can't generate electricity there. It caused our water system to geyser. Did a lot of damage. We're still in the process of having specialists come in to inspect docks and roads throughout the park, and to provide some assurance that we didn't do too much damage to those important assets from all that rain. But Goat Haunt got hit especially, and the power that right now we're just running on propane there. That could be the reason for the webcam, but I'd have to look into it to know for sure. I'm really excited about how this summer has gone. We tried some things this year that were in some ways different, with the shuttle system, with not having a vehicle reservation requirement as part of our pilot operations, which we had been doing in 22, 23, 24, and 25, but not this year. That requirement was removed. And implementing for the first time 3-hour parking at Logan Pass. Some of the things that we hoped would happen, in fact, have. One of the positive outcomes that we looked towards was not having an incentive for visitors to be driving going to the Sun Road in the dark in a race to get to Logan Pass as if it were the Indy 500, because they know that parking up there was such a rare commodity that they needed to get it ASAP, first thing in the morning. We don't think that a good park experience should require getting up at dark 30 and driving in the dark when wildlife is out on the road and you can't see much of what you're driving through. So we have lowered the pre 6 a.m. park entries on the road this year because there was really no incentive to do it. If you get up to Logan beginning July 1st, we were managing with 3-hour parking. Logan has been a different experience this year. It's still busy. It's still a congested place, very, very popular. But we've offered more access to Logan Pass than we ever have. What visitors do this summer from July 1st, and we're going to run this up until September 7th, is you find a parking space, which you can find because we're sort of forcing that turnover, right? When your 3-hour time is up, you've got to go. So you find a spot, go to the kiosk up by the visitor center, not up the stairs, but down at the parking lot level. Enter your license plate number, push the button, get a permit, put that on your dashboard. I can see how many permits we issue live from my desk. And there are things that I could say now about the experience at Logan that I've never been able to say before. I don't think any other superintendent's been able to say it. We're issuing typically 1,300 permits per day. That is for 235 parking spaces at Logan. So they're turning over several times a day. When I look at the hourly data during the core hours of the day, most of those hours will see us issuing 100 parking permits to people. So you've got that right. You can go up to Logan pretty much any time during the day, and 100 people per hour will find a place to park. That has not been the case until we've been doing what we're doing this year. So that's working pretty well. And use of Hidden Lake Trail has risen a bit. A lot of people that park there have time to go to Hidden Lake, at least the overlook, and come back. Use of Highline Trail has stayed steady, maybe decreased just a little bit from last year. A lot of the Highline users are taking the Logan Pass shuttle to get there. And so our shuttle fleet has 31 working vehicles, and those vehicles are all dedicated towards moving people up the mountain early in the day, starting at 6 a.m., so that they can get up to Logan and do a Highline loop itinerary. So we're keeping use of the Highline and loop at about 1,100 people per day, which, believe it or not, is perfectly dialed into the threshold that we said in our 2019 plan, that was the right condition, the right visitor experience, and the right resource protection on the Highline. So we've got it dialed right now. The downside of that, as I hear often from people, is while they like that, they miss the old shuttles too. They miss the shuttles that went up and down going to the Sun Road, stopping at other trailheads and allowing some other itineraries that don't start at Logan. We don't have enough shuttles to do both. So what we did this year was try to see if we could get our brains wrapped around Logan Pass and turn that from a place where I heard people sometimes getting into fistfights over parking spots there, to make it a more predictable and accessible place. So we've succeeded there. The shuttles, mostly because of the standby lines, have been traveling mostly full up to Logan. So that's what we wanted to see. Empty seats make me cry. They do return the second half of their routes. They're coming back empty. So if you've been in the park and you've seen an empty shuttle, that's by design. They're doing what they're intending to, which is moving people up to the mountain in the mornings and taking them down in the afternoons. So it was a really good summer of learning. I say it like it's the past tense. We're still doing it, but you all know how it is. It's mid-August. It's almost time to start sharpening our skis, right?
Thanks, Dave. Yeah, it's been a great year for me to have visitors that want to go to Logan because it's been a lot easier to find a parking spot up there for a quick stop into the visitor center or to do part of the overlook. So that's been an exciting part of the trial. All right, I know that Amy has a speed round here and we'll do a giveaway, but I thought I would just ask this one from our friends Eric and Tanya, which I thought was nice. You both touched on a few of these wildlife priorities, but they were wondering if there are any specific wildlife research priorities the park or even at the Conservancy we're working on in the next few years that you'd like to highlight.
I'll let you have it, Dave, if you'd like.
Sorry, I was reading a comment just there, but
Okay.
yeah, Gracie, wildlife projects.
Yeah, and just priorities in research for wildlife.
Yeah, I love that. Before I became so focused on measuring the activities of humans and their cars and parks, I was a wildlife person. So I studied bats, birds, and mountain lions, starting at Carlsbad. And wildlife is near and dear to me. So because I've had to learn other things, the flip side of that is I tend to ignore the resource management folks in the park. I just kind of take them for granted. I'm like, yeah, you know, I like to hang with you guys, but I need to focus and learn about other stuff. So, but they're doing a great job. Um, and gosh, the mountain goat study, um, having collars on some animals, learning where they go and how they respond to recreational use in the Middle Fork of the Flathead River is a really exciting project. One I've gotten to see it both from the river view as well up from Goat Lick and see how that's going. Um, you know, goats are such an iconic species, and understanding their population trends and how they respond to people in the park is really important. Same with bears. Every day in the park is almost like a game within a game where you're trying to keep people and bears apart from each other. Most of the effort really goes towards human education and enforcement of not leaving food out in campgrounds, not doing things that are going to be attracting bears. Um, but it also involves bear management. And so we collect such a rich amount of data on the grizzlies and the black bears in the park. It's really impressive the things we've been able to do with hair snares and DNA. When we encounter a bear, we're able usually to say things about its parents and grandparents and the range of all of those generations of a bear in the park, which is both fascinating and also very, very useful for day-to-day management in the park. Knowing if we're dealing with an offender, with a problem bear, or knowing if we're dealing with a bear that perhaps has been in the park for 15 years, and this is the first time that we've got a report of something going not the way we want to. Having the staff that are in a data-based way able to effectively manage bears, do some aversive conditioning if needed, to try and keep the bears and the people um, in this place where we can coexist. That's vital. Um, you know, all the things about Glacier that are exciting to me, the wilderness, um, the connected landscape. Um, it's not Glacier without grizzly bears and wolverines and mountain goats and wolves, just to name a few. Um, we've got to have that wildness. We've got to have the full complement of animals in the park. Some of the other wildlife projects that we're working on is also understanding where they are, how they respond to changing temperatures, climate change, and doing some groundwork, especially on the east side of the park with vegetation, understand what the conditions are, in what will hopefully be a pre-bison condition, because that's, the dream. The dream is to work with the Blackfeet and have bison be on the landscape in a free roaming population, in the park, on the reservation, even up into the belly and into Alberta, on protected lands there. So if we can bring that outcome to bear fruit, then we've really done some transformational things here at the park.
And I kept seeing the staff kind of jumping in saying, and bats and birds yeah. And then we got beaver. I think there's a beaver pilot project working with the Blackfeet coming up. That's on our work page. So Andrew and team, thanks for dropping those links in our chat on the side so that folks can go there. And I saw one of the questions, can I designate my dollars? And I saw Stacy chimed in there and says, if you see a project under the our work thing, you can jump in there and you can designate your gift to work on the project. So thanks for the questions, and thanks team for throwing the answers out there. Appreciate the interaction.
Yeah, this has been wonderful. I'll pass it back to Amy, but there was just a quick clarification question, Dave, that folks are wondering if they understand correctly that about 1,100 people per day are hiking from Logan Pass to Granite Park, then down to the Loop.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up on my screen right now just to look at it. Here's yeah, gosh, I'm looking at July 16 this year. We had 1,200 people on the High Line. In 2025, we had more than 2,000 people on the High Line on the same day, on July 16th. So we're hitting our ideal threshold. We're not overusing it, and yeah, these tools work. And I want to say it's, and I don't want to overlook the people that have missed the old shuttle system. We can only do so much, but the things we've done this year that we're learning from, I've gotten a lot of feedback from visitors that say, wow, this is working. Sometimes it's like, I didn't think this was going to work. I thought it was going to be absolutely nuts out there without vehicle reservations, but kudos for having this approach of trying things out, measuring what we're doing and learning from it. I want to say one other thing about congestion really quick too. We measure that as well, both in terms of vehicles at any one time in the park, and the level of service is a metric that we use when we talk about congestion on roads. And we've only exceeded the level of service on going to the Sun Road for 2 hours this year. And there were 2 separate hours on June 22nd, which was opening day. And we were kind of crushed that day. So it's not a surprise. But we're within acceptable ranges for our use the rest of the entire summer. And I know I've had the experience of coming into the park and being backed up on Highway 2 and worried about what it will look like when I get into the park. Then to drive more or less 40 miles an hour on cruise control all the way to Avalanche without tailgating anybody, without being tailgated myself. It takes a while to go through Avalanche because people are trying to park there. And then once I'm through driving 20, 25 miles an hour while people are looking out the windows all the way up to Logan, and then finding parking at Logan. So it's kind of working.
Thanks for that, Dave. Real-time data right here on Glacier Conversations, everyone. So thanks for the great questions. I just want to say we may not get to everybody, and I know that can be super frustrating. We like to keep these to just an hour to respect everybody's time, but I will personally take responsibility. We get these Zoom chats after this, and if there are some questions that haven't been answered, we'll get those to Dave or to the park if we need to, so that you guys can get a response. Or if we can answer them at the Conservancy, we will do that as well. So it wouldn't be a Glacier Conversation without a speed round. So I have just a few questions for both Tagen and Dave. Everybody hold their breath. This is where we really get to know them. Let's be honest, okay? So here we go. We're gonna go back and forth. So Tegan, you get to answer this one first. Dave, you're not off the hook. You get to answer too, but I don't want you guys to feel pressure. So Tegan, Grinnell Glacier or the High Line? Where are you hiking?
Oh my gosh.
You only get one.
I'm going to say Grinnell just because I've done the High Line more than I've done Grinnell. So I'll go with Grinnell for now just to start to spend a little more time on the eastern slope.
Fair. Dave?
I love Granite Chalet so much and being there that I'll go there and try to carve out a couple of days and do side trips from there. I'd love that.
Love it. Granted, does put you right in the middle of everything, it feels like. Okay, this one, Dave, you're gonna have to answer first, and then we'll go to Tagen. So picture yourself buying a ticket to something. Is it most likely a concert, a sporting event, a plane ticket in the winter to get out of here, or something else?
I don't know if it'd be a plane ticket in the winter because I love real winters here.
Oh, okay. See, we learned something about Superintendent Roemer
Yeah. I love travel and I love food. And so like a food vacation, not
of food.
necessarily in winter.
Okay. Tagen?
Well, it depends on if it's a trip that my three girls are planning, my three daughters, or if it's me. If it's my three girls, it's probably a concert ticket to Taylor Swift or Noah Khan. If it's me planning it, maybe a fly fishing down somewhere nice and warm and sunny in the middle of towards the end of February, just for a 1 week break from all of that wonderful moisture that we get for a few months.
There you go. Good
Yeah.
answer. Are the girls going to Noah Khan in Seattle? It's coming up.
I think my middle one just went and like at the Rose Bowl.
Oh, wow. Fun.
Yeah, adventurers all.
Okay. We're going back to Tagen first. You have a free, warm summer and smoke-free afternoon. Do you spend it on a river or a lake, and which one? I think I know the answer for you, Tagen, but I'm gonna let you say it.
Yeah, yeah, I do love to float and fish. So yeah, I'm going to go with the river.
Dave,
Same, same
also the river.
There's
river.
something magical about moving water.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the ultimate question, and Tagen, you only get two choices here, but I'll throw it to Dave first. We already know the answer with him. Grizz or Bobcats?
Go Grizz.
Tagen?
I can't do it. The folks at MSU were kind enough to give me an honorary degree for the nursing school when I worked at the hospital.
I read
And I
that.
have a daughter that went there for a couple of years, but I've been to a ton of Grizz football games and have cheered my heart out for them. And I got a couple friends whose kids are there. So I got friends' kids play for both sides. So go Montana.
Okay. Yay, Badgers, huh? That's what you're gonna stick with. Um, okay, I think I have completed the speed round. Thank you all for that. Gracie, do we have some names for the giveaway?
We do. We have a Claire Hanneman and a Scott Pauling. So Claire and Scott, if you'll email us at info@glacier.org, we'll arrange getting those shipped out to you.
So for giveaways, we have a Glacier. It's sort of a hiking gator. So for those of us who get hot and want to dip that in the creek and put it around our neck, or we can use it to as a little sweat rig, however you want to use that. And then we have a fun luggage tag that we'll send you that has Glacier on it. So um gosh, you all, we're out of time. And I'm sorry that we didn't get to everybody's questions. As I said, we will make sure that you do get an answer to your questions. Again, feel free to reach out to us at any time. I want to give a big thank you to Tagen and Dave for joining us. I want to give an even bigger thank you to all of our donors and friends who support the Conservancy and support the good work that goes on at Glacier. And I hope that you all have a fantastic evening, and we'll see you on the next one of these.
Good job, Amy. Thanks, everybody.